Sometimes I wonder if it's strange to write to someone who hasn't even entered my life yet. Someone whose face I don't know, whose voice I've never heard, whose laugh I've never shared a room with. And yet somehow you exist in my thoughts. Not as a fantasy, not as an imagined perfect person, but as someone real, someone who is living her life somewhere right now, completely unaware that a man she hasn't met yet is quietly hoping that one day your paths will cross. That thought used to feel unrealistic to me. For most of my life, I believed love was something that appeared suddenly, unexpectedly, without preparation. Two people meet, something clicks, and from there, everything unfolds naturally. But life has taught me that meaningful connections rarely happen by accident. They happen after people spend years becoming the versions of themselves they were meant to be. That's why I'm writing this to you now, even though we haven't met yet. Because before our story ever begins, there are things I want you to know. Not about the future we might build, but about the person I am becoming before you arrive. First, I want you to know that I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes in relationships. I've misunderstood people, I've trusted the wrong situations, and sometimes walked away from the right ones too slowly. Life has a way of teaching humility through experience, but every mistake has shaped me. Every moment of confusion or disappointment has slowly helped me understand what truly matters when it comes to loving someone. And what matters most is not excitement. It's not perfection. It's not even compatibility in the way people usually describe it. What matters most is commitment. Commitment to patience. Commitment to understanding. Commitment to choosing someone again and again, even on days when life becomes complicated. If you and I ever meet, I don't want our relationship to be built on temporary feelings. Feelings are beautiful, but they change. What lasts longer is something deeper: respect, trust. The quiet confidence that two people are building something meaningful together, rather than simply enjoying the excitement of the moment. That's the kind of love I hope to share with you someday. Not something rushed, not something forced, but something that grows naturally over time. You see, I've spent a lot of years focusing on building my life. Work, responsibilities, learning how to stand on my own feet and create stability. Those years were important. They taught me discipline and patience, but they also showed me something else. Success feels very different when there's no one to share it with. Achievements feel quieter when they happen alone. The victories still matter, but they carry a different weight when there isn't someone beside you who understands the journey behind them. That realization is one of the reasons I think about you now. Not because I feel incomplete, but because I know life becomes richer when it's shared with someone who understands your world. And I hope when we meet someday, you will see something genuine in me. Not someone pretending to be perfect, just someone who has lived enough life to understand that real love is not about finding someone flawless. It's about finding someone whose imperfections you respect and whose character you trust. I imagine you as someone strong, not in the sense of being invulnerable, but strong in the way people become after experiencing life honestly. Someone who has faced disappointments but didn't allow them to close her heart. Someone who still believes in kindness even after seeing how complicated the world can be. Because kindness is one of the most powerful qualities a person can have. Not the superficial kind people display when everything is easy, but the kind that appears during difficult moments. The kind that shows patience when others are frustrated. The kind that chooses understanding over judgment. That's the kind of character I admire. And if you carry that kind of strength within you, then I know something important about our future already. Our relationship will never be perfect, but it will be real. And real relationships are built on something deeper than romance. They're built on partnership, the ability to face life together rather than separately, to support each other when circumstances become difficult, to celebrate each other's achievements without competition, and to grow together instead of drifting apart. Sometimes I wonder what you might be doing right now while I'm writing this. Maybe you're sitting in your own apartment after a long day reading something that caught your attention. Maybe you're spending time with friends, laughing about things that won't seem important years from now, but still feel meaningful today. Maybe you're focusing on your own goals and dreams, building a life that reflects the person you want to become. Whatever your life looks like at this moment, I hope it's full of growth. I hope you're discovering what matters most to you. Because when we eventually meet, the person you become will matter far more than anything else. Your experiences, your perspective, your values. Those things are what shape the foundation of a relationship. And I want our foundation to be strong. Strong enough to survive misunderstandings. Strong enough to endure stressful seasons of life. strong enough to allow both of us to continue growing as individuals while still building something meaningful together. You see, I don't believe love should limit someone's life. It should expand it. A healthy relationship encourages both people to pursue their ambitions while supporting each other along the way. It creates space for independence while still nurturing connection. And that balance is something I deeply respect. I don't want to control your life. I want to walk beside you as you live it. Because partnership is not about possession, it's about presence. Being present for someone during both the joyful moments and the difficult ones, listening carefully when they need to talk, standing quietly beside them when words aren't necessary, and reminding them that they're not facing life alone anymore. That's the kind of husband I hope to be someday. Not someone perfect, but someone reliable. Someone who chooses honesty even when conversations become uncomfortable. Someone who understands that trust must be protected carefully, because once it's broken, rebuilding it is difficult. If you ever read these words someday, I hope you'll understand something simple. Even though we haven't met yet, I'm already trying to become the kind of man who deserves the love of someone like you. Someone thoughtful. Someone patient. Someone who believes that relationships should be built carefully rather than rushed. And when our lives eventually cross paths, I don't want it to feel like something forced. I want it to feel natural, like two people who spent years growing separately have finally reached the same point in their lives at the same time, ready to build something lasting, ready to write a new chapter together. Until that day arrives, I will keep living my life, keep learning, keep growing into the person I hope you will one day be proud to stand beside. And wherever you are right now, I hope life is shaping you in ways that make your future bright and meaningful. Because someday, when our paths finally meet, I want to look at you and know something without any doubt, that all the years before we met were simply preparing us for that moment. To my future wife, I'm not even married yet. But somehow my heart already believes it belongs with you. There are nights when the world becomes unusually quiet. The kind of quiet where even the smallest thoughts feel louder than usual, where the distractions of the day fade away and you are left alone with the truth of what your heart actually wants. Those are the nights when I think about you the most. Not in a desperate way, that as someone waiting for a missing piece of life to arrive, but as someone who understands that love, when it eventually appears, will change the way everything else feels. For a long time, I believed that relationships happen quickly. Two people meet, feel something intense, and suddenly their lives begin moving in the same direction. But the older I've become, the more I've realized that the strongest connections rarely begin that way. They begin slowly, quietly. Two people noticing each other in ways they didn't expect. Noticing how conversations feel natural instead of forced. Noticing how time together feels peaceful rather than exhausting. Noticing how the presence of the other person doesn't create chaos in your life, but calm. That's the kind of beginning I hope we will have. Something steady, something real. Because I'm not interested in temporary excitement anymore. I've seen what temporary excitement looks like. It burns brightly for a short time, and then it disappears, leaving people confused about what went wrong. I don't want that kind of love. I want the kind that grows stronger with time, the kind that doesn't depend on constant intensity, the kind that survives ordinary days, because most of life is ordinary days. Morning routines, work responsibilities, unexpected problems, quiet evenings where nothing particularly dramatic happens. If two people can feel connected even during those moments, then they have something rare. And that's what I want with you. I want us to be able to sit together in silence without feeling like something is missing. To share conversations that move naturally from serious thoughts to laughter without needing to impress each other. To feel comfortable enough to be completely ourselves. That kind of comfort takes time to build. It requires honesty, patience, and a willingness to understand each other instead of trying to change each other. I don't want to reshape who you are. The right relationship doesn't require transformation. It requires acceptance. Acceptance of the small habits that make someone unique. Acceptance of the emotional rhythms that shape how they move through life. Acceptance of the fact that no one arrives in a relationship as a finished person. We all continue growing, even after we meet the person we love. Especially after, I hope when we eventually meet, we will be able to grow together instead of growing apart. That's one of the things I think about often when I imagine our future. Not the romantic moments people usually picture, but the quiet evolution that happens over years. How we will learn new things about each other, how we will adjust to life's unexpected changes, how we will support each other's ambitions even when those ambitions create temporary distance or difficulty. Because real love doesn't compete with personal growth, it encourages it. I want you to chase your dreams, whatever they are. I want to see the excitement in your eyes when you talk about something that matters deeply to you. And I want to stand beside you while you pursue those things. Not behind you, not in front of you, beside you. Because partnership should feel like walking together, not leading or following. Sometimes you will be stronger. Sometimes I will be. But neither of us should ever feel alone. I think about the small moments that will define our life more than the big ones. The mornings when we're both tired but still manage to laugh about something ridiculous. The evenings when we sit together after a long day and simply talk about what happened. The weekends when we plan something spontaneous and end up creating memories that feel unexpectedly important later. Those moments may seem insignificant at the time, but years from now, they will become the memories that define our relationship. Because love is not built in a single dramatic moment. It's built in thousands of small ones. Moments where two people choose to care, choose to listen, choose to stay. Staying is one of the most underrated forms of love. Anyone can be present when things are easy, but staying during difficult times requires something deeper. Understanding, commitment, trust. There'll be days when life feels overwhelming, when responsibilities pile up and patience runs thin, when misunderstandings happen even though neither of us intended them. Those moments are inevitable, but they don't have to break us. If we approach them with honesty instead of defensiveness, they can actually make us stronger. That's something I've learned through experience. Conflict isn't always a sign that something is wrong. Sometimes it's simply a sign that two people care enough to express their perspectives honestly. The important thing is how that conflict is handled, with respect, with calm, with a willingness to understand the other person's feelings even when they differ from your own. If we can do that, then our relationship will have something far more valuable than perfection. It will have resilience. Resilience is what allows love to survive the unpredictable nature of life. Jobs change. Cities change. Priorities shift. But if two people remain committed to each other, those external changes become easier to navigate. I hope that when we finally meet, we will both recognize something quietly powerful in each other. Not a dramatic spark that burns out quickly, but a steady warmth. The kind of feeling that makes you think, this person feels safe. Safety is something people rarely talk about when they describe love. They talk about passion, excitement, chemistry. But emotional safety is far more important. The ability to be vulnerable without fear of judgment. The confidence that your partner will respect your feelings even when they don't fully understand them. The knowledge that honesty will be met with patience rather than anger. That's the kind of relationship I want with you, one where both of us feel secure enough to reveal our true selves without hesitation. Because pretending eventually becomes exhausting, and love should never feel like a performance. It should feel like a refuge, a place where you can rest emotionally, a place where you know someone cares about your happiness as much as their own. I don't know when we will meet. Life doesn't follow predictable timelines. Sometimes people cross paths unexpectedly. Sometimes they spend years living separate lives before finally encountering each other. But whenever that moment arrives, I hope we both recognize its significance, not because it feels dramatic, but because it feels right in a quiet way that meaningful things often do. Until then, I will keep living my life. Keep learning from every experience. Keep becoming someone capable of building the kind of partnership I believe in. And somewhere out there, you are doing the same. Growing, learning, preparing for a future that neither of us can fully see yet. But one day, if life brings us together, we will realize something beautiful. That all those years of separate journeys were leading us toward the same destination. Toward each other. And when that day comes, I won't need to say anything dramatic to explain what I feel, because the truth will already be clear. I chose you long before we even met. There is something strange about loving someone you haven't met yet. Not strange in a desperate way, more like a quiet belief that somewhere in the world there is a person whose life will eventually intertwine with yours in a way that makes everything before it make more sense. For most of my life, I didn't think about the future this way. I focused on what was directly in front of me. Responsibilities. Work. The small steps that build a life, one decision at a time. But somewhere along the way, something shifted inside me. I started noticing how temporary many things in life really are. Jobs change. Cities change. Friendships sometimes fade as people move in different directions. Even the things we once believed would last forever eventually transform into memories. And when you realize that, something inside you begins to search for what actually endures. For me, that search eventually led to the idea of you, not as a fantasy, not as some perfect person waiting somewhere to complete my life, but as a partner who will one day share the journey that comes after everything I've built so far. Someone who will understand the story behind the person I've become, because that story matters. Every choice, every mistake, every lesson learned along the way, all of it shapes how we love someone when the right person finally arrives. There are things about me you should know long before we ever meet. Not because they define me completely, but because they explain the person I'm becoming. I've spent a lot of years learning patience. Not the easy kind, the kind that develops when life doesn't move as quickly as you expected it to. The kind that teaches you to wait for the right opportunities instead of chasing every possibility that appears. Patience has taught me something important about relationships. Rushing rarely leads to something lasting. People who build strong lives understand that meaningful things take time. Trust takes time. Understanding takes time. Even love, when it's genuine, takes time to fully reveal itself. That's why I'm not looking for something instant. I'm looking for something steady, a connection that grows naturally instead of being forced into existence. Because the strongest relationships are not built on urgency. They're built on intention. Intention is what turns two separate lives into a shared future. And when that happens, something remarkable begins to take shape. Two people start seeing the world not only through their own experiences, but through each other's perspectives. Your victories become mine. My challenges become yours. And together we begin to build something neither of us could have created alone. I imagine our first conversations will be simple, not dramatic. Just two people talking honestly, learning about each other's past, discovering the little details that reveal who someone truly is. The stories from childhood, the ambitions that shaped adulthood, the fears that taught caution, the hopes that still remain even after life's disappointments. Because those things matter more than surface impressions. They reveal character. And character is the foundation of love that lasts. I don't need someone flawless. I need someone real. Someone who understands that life is not always neat or predictable. Someone who can laugh when things go wrong and stay calm when circumstances become complicated. Someone who values loyalty and honesty above temporary excitement, because excitement fades, but character stays. When I think about you, I don't imagine perfection. I imagine someone thoughtful, someone who listens carefully when people speak, someone who treats others with kindness even when there is no advantage in doing so. Someone who understands that respect is the quiet backbone of every meaningful relationship. Respect is what allows two people to remain connected even when they disagree. And disagreements will happen. No two people see the world exactly the same way, but disagreement doesn't have to mean division. If it's handled with patience, it can actually deepen understanding. It allows each person to see life from a perspective they might never have considered before. And that kind of understanding builds a partnership stronger than simple agreement ever could. I hope when we face those moments together, we'll remember something important. We're not opponents, we're partners. Two people trying to build something meaningful together. That mindset changes everything. Instead of arguing to win, we listen to understand. Instead of reacting with frustration, we pause long enough to think about what the other person is really feeling. That kind of emotional maturity doesn't appear overnight. It grows through experience, through moments where we choose patience instead of pride. And those choices slowly create something powerful. Trust. Trust is what allows love to become stable. Without it, relationships feel fragile. But with it, even difficult seasons can be navigated together. I want our future to be built on that kind of trust. The quiet confidence that no matter what challenges appear, we will face them side by side, instead of alone. When I imagine the life we might build together, the details are not extravagant. I don't imagine constant adventure or dramatic romance. I imagine something far more meaningful. A life that feels peaceful. Morning coffee shared before the day begins. Conversations in the evening about everything that happened while we were apart. Small traditions that become part of our routine without us even noticing when they started. Maybe it's cooking together on weekends. Maybe it's long walks where we talk about things we didn't have time to discuss during the week. Maybe it's simply sitting together in comfortable silence after a long day. Those moments may seem ordinary, but they are the moments that create the feeling of home. And home is not just a place, it's a person. The person who understands you completely and still chooses to stay. That's what I hope we become for each other someday. Not just partners in the formal sense, but companions. Two people who know each other's strengths and weaknesses and still believe deeply in the life they are building together. I know that when we finally meet, we will both carry pieces of our past with us. Experiences that shaped who we are. Memories that taught us what matters and what doesn't. Those pieces are not obstacles. They're the foundation of our wisdom. They help us recognize what is truly important when we find it. And when I find you, I want to appreciate that fully. Not rush past it, not take it for granted, but understand how rare it is to meet someone whose presence feels steady and genuine. Because rare things deserve patience. They deserve care. They deserve the kind of attention that turns a connection into a lifelong partnership. So wherever you are right now, living your own life and following your own path, I hope you are happy. I hope you are learning the lessons that will shape you into the person that will eventually meet. And I hope when that moment finally arrives, we will both recognize something quietly powerful in each other. Not because our lives suddenly become perfect, but because they begin to make more sense together than they ever did apart. Until then, I will continue becoming the person you deserve. Someone capable of loving with patience. Someone capable of building something lasting. Someone who understands that the most meaningful love stories are not rushed into existence. They are built carefully, step, by two people who choose each other every day. And when that day comes for us, I will already know one thing with complete certainty. Even before we said the words, even before we promised forever, my heart had already chosen you. Sometimes I try to imagine the exact moment we will meet. Not in a dramatic way, not like the movies where everything suddenly slows down and the world seems to pause for two people to notice each other. I don't think it will happen like that. Life rarely moves in such obvious ways. I think our first meeting will probably feel ordinary at the time. Maybe we will be in a place where neither of us expected anything important to happen. Maybe we will be busy thinking about our own responsibilities, our own plans for the week, our own quiet worries that no one else knows about. And then we will start talking. At first, it will probably be simple conversation. Questions that people always ask when they meet someone new. Where are you from? What do you do? How did you end up here? But somewhere inside that conversation, something subtle will happen. The conversation won't feel forced. It won't feel like two people trying to impress each other. Instead, it will feel natural, like two minds moving at the same pace. And I think that's when the real beginning will quietly appear. Not through a spark, through comfort. Comfort is something people underestimate. Everyone talks about passion and chemistry as if those things are the most important parts of love. And yes, they matter. Attraction has its place. But comfort is what allows two people to remain close long after the excitement of the beginning fades. Comfort is the moment when you realize you don't have to perform anymore. You don't have to carefully measure every word you say. You don't have to hide the small imperfections that make you human. You can simply be yourself. And the other person doesn't look disappointed. They look relieved because they were waiting to do the same thing. I imagine that with you, the moment when we both realize we can relax in each other's presence, that moment is more powerful than any dramatic declaration because it means we're not building something on illusion. We're building something on truth. Truth is the strongest foundation any relationship can have. Without it, people eventually become exhausted from pretending. But when two people are honest with each other, something incredible happens. They begin to trust. Trust isn't something you can demand. It grows slowly, through consistency, through small promises kept over time, through the quiet realization that the person beside you does exactly what they say they will do. That kind of reliability is rare, but it's the quality I value most in a relationship. Because love that lasts is not about constant excitement. It's about stability. The stability of knowing someone will still be there on the difficult days. The stability of knowing that when life becomes complicated, you won't have to face it alone. That's what I want to give you someday. Not just affection, not just romance, but partnership. A partnership where both of us feel strong because we know we are supported. Where both of us feel free to pursue our dreams because we trust the other person to stand beside us while we do. Dreams are important. Everyone carries them in different ways. Some people dream about building careers that allow them to change the world around them. Others dream about creating homes filled with warmth and laughter. Some dream about travel, exploration, learning about cultures and places far from where they began. Whatever your dreams are, I hope you never feel like you have to abandon them for the sake of a relationship. Because the right relationship will never ask that of you. Instead, it will encourage you. It will make your ambitions feel even more possible. I want to be the kind of man who celebrates your successes instead of feeling threatened by them. Someone who listens when you talk about your goals and genuinely wants to help you achieve them. Because when two people support each other like that, their lives expand in ways neither of them expected. They become stronger together than they ever could have been alone. And strength in a relationship doesn't mean the absence of problems. Every couple faces challenges. Misunderstandings happen. Stress from the outside world sometimes spills into personal moments. But strong relationships are not defined by how often problems appear. They are defined by how those problems are handled. With patience, with respect, with understanding that both people are trying their best, even when they make mistakes. Mistakes are part of being human. Neither of us will get everything right all the time. There will be moments when I misunderstand you, moments when you misunderstand me. But if we approach those moments with humility instead of pride, they will not divide us. They will teach us. They will show us how to communicate more clearly, how to listen more carefully, how to understand each other more deeply. That kind of growth transforms a relationship into something far stronger than simple attraction. It creates resilience. Resilience is what allows love to survive the unpredictable nature of life. Because life will surprise us, there will be unexpected opportunities, unexpected disappointments, unexpected changes that force us to adapt quickly. And when those moments arrive, I want us to face them together, not as two individuals protecting their own interests, but as partners working toward the same future. I think about the home we might one day build. Not the physical structure itself, but the feeling inside it. A place where both of us feel safe, where laughter is common, where difficult conversations can happen without fear, where the outside world may sometimes feel chaotic, but inside our home there is calm. Home should feel like that. Not perfect, just peaceful. Peace is something many people search for without realizing it. They chase excitement, adventure, success. But peace is the quiet happiness that appears when you know you are exactly where you belong. I believe that if two people truly care for each other, they can create that feeling together. And that's what I hope a life will become someday. A place of calm strength. A place where we both feel understood. A place where our individual lives continue to grow, but our shared life becomes the most meaningful part of the journey. When I imagine our future, I don't think about perfection. I think about consistency. Years passing where we continue choosing each other again and again. Years where our conversations evolve as we grow older. Years where our understanding deepens because we have experienced life together. Because that's what forever really means. Not one moment of certainty, but thousands of days where two people quietly decide that the relationship they're building matters more than the distractions around them. And every time they make that decision, their bond becomes stronger. So wherever you are tonight, living your own life and following your own path, I hope you know something. Even though we haven't met yet, I already believe in the possibility of us. Not because I'm searching desperately for love, but because I know that when the right person appears, something inside me will recognize it immediately. Not through excitement, through peace. Through the calm understanding that the journey I've been walking alone is about to become a shared path. And when that moment finally arrives, I will welcome it with gratitude. Because finding someone worth building a life with is one of the rarest gifts life can offer. And if that someone turns out to be you, then every step I took before meeting you will have been worth it. Until then, I will keep living, learning, and growing into the person who will one day stand beside you. And when we finally meet, you won't be meeting a stranger. You'll be meeting the man who has been preparing his heart for you all along. There's something I've come to understand about love that I didn't realize when I was younger. When you're young, love often feels like something dramatic. People imagine intense emotions, constant excitement, and moments that feel larger than life. It's easy to believe that love must always feel overwhelming to be real. With the older I become, the more I realize that the deepest kind of love is actually quiet. It doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives with a simple conversation. A shared understanding. A moment where you suddenly realize that someone's presence makes the world feel a little more balanced. I believe that when we meet, it won't feel like chaos. It will feel like calm. The kind of calm that makes you think, I don't have to search anymore. That feeling matters more than anything else. Because searching can be exhausting. People spend years looking for connection without fully understanding what they're hoping to find. Some chase excitement, others chase validation, and many chase the idea of love rather than the reality of it. But real love doesn't feel like chasing, it feels like arriving. Arriving at a place where both people feel seen for who they truly are. A place where honesty doesn't create fear, where silence doesn't create distance, where two people can share their lives without constantly questioning whether they belong in each other's future. That's the kind of love I want to build with you. Not something fragile that depends on perfect circumstances, something stable that can survive the unpredictable nature of life. Because life will challenge us. There will be seasons when everything feels easy, and there will be seasons when nothing does. Work will demand time and energy. Responsibilities will test our patience. Unexpected problems will appear when we least expect them. But when two people truly care for each other, those challenges become something different. They become opportunities to grow stronger together. I don't expect our relationship to be perfect. Perfection isn't real. But I do hope it will be honest. Honesty is what allows people to face life together without hiding their fears or frustrations. If something is bothering you, I want you to feel comfortable telling me. If I make a mistake, I want to be able to admit it without pride getting in the way. Because pride has ruined many relationships that could have been saved by simple humility. Humility allows people to learn from each other. It allows them to recognize that love is not about winning arguments or proving who is right. It's about protecting the connection that brought them together in the first place. Protecting something meaningful is one of the most important responsibilities two people can share. Because meaningful relationships are rare. And when you find one, it deserves care. Care in the way you speak to each other, care in the way you listen when the other person is trying to explain how they feel, care in the way you handle disagreements so they don't become permanent wounds. All of those things require effort, but the right kind of effort doesn't feel like a burden. It feels like investment. An investment in something that becomes more valuable with time. I imagine that when we build our life together, the most meaningful moments won't be the ones people usually talk about. It won't be the big events or the dramatic milestones. It will be the quiet moments that most people overlook. The evenings when we sit together and talk about things that happen during the day. The mornings when we're both half awake but still find something to laugh about. The weekends when we decide to do something simple but end up creating memories that stay with us for years. Those small moments will slowly form the story of our life together. A story that doesn't need to impress anyone else. A story that belongs entirely to us. I hope our home someday will feel like a place where both of us can truly relax. Not just physically, but emotionally. A place where neither of us feels the need to pretend. A place where we can share our worries without fear of judgment. A place where happiness feels natural instead of forced. Because happiness doesn't always appear in dramatic ways. First, it appears quietly, in the feeling of belonging somewhere. And belonging is one of the most powerful feelings a person can experience. When you belong with someone, you stop wondering whether you're enough. You stop measuring yourself against unrealistic expectations. You simply exist together, appreciating each other for who you are. That kind of acceptance creates something beautiful. It creates freedom. Freedom to grow. Freedom to make mistakes and learn from them. Freedom to express thoughts and emotions without worrying about rejection. I want our relationship to feel like that. A place where both of us are free to become the best versions of ourselves. Not because we are trying to impress each other, but because we genuinely support each other's growth. Growth is important. No one stays exactly the same over the years. People change, their priorities evolve, their understanding of the world deepens. And when two people are committed to each other, they grow together instead of growing apart. That's the kind of future I imagine with you. A future where time doesn't weaken our connection. Instead, it strengthens it. Where the years that pass add layers of understanding instead of distance. Where we continue learning about each other long after the excitement of the beginning fades. Because even after decades together, there will still be new things to discover. New dreams, new ideas, new ways of seeing the world. And sharing those discoveries with someone you love is one of the greatest gifts life offers. Sometimes I wonder what kind of experiences you're having right now. Maybe you're working toward goals that matter deeply to you. Maybe you're learning lessons that will shape the way you approach relationships in the future. Maybe you're building a life that reflects the person you're becoming. Whatever path you're on, I hope it's teaching you the same things Life has been teaching me patience, kindness, understanding. Those qualities are what make love sustainable. Without them, even the strongest attraction eventually fades. But when two people treat each other with patience and respect, something extraordinary happens. Their relationship becomes a source of strength, a place where both of them feel supported during difficult moments, a place where joy becomes more meaningful because it's shared. That's what I hope we will create together. Not a perfect life, but a meaningful one. A life where we continue choosing each other even when circumstances become complicated. A life where the connection between us becomes deeper with every passing year. I don't know when we will meet. Life has its own timing, and sometimes it surprises us when we least expect it. But I believe that when the moment finally arrives, we will both feel something quietly powerful. Not a dramatic rush of emotion, but a calm certainty. The feeling that we've both been walking separate paths that were slowly leading us toward the same destination, toward each other. And when that moment comes, I will know something with absolute clarity. My heart didn't belong to anyone else before you. But somehow, even before we met, it was already waiting for you.